Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Please do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Alrighty. Folks, before we bring our guest in for today, do us a favor. Whatever platform you're on, if you're able, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues, even the folks that you're challenged with. Yeah, we all have people we're challenged with. All right, without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. You see her in the comments on a regular basis. She is a part of the TDH community. Let's make sure I have the right sound effects, but don't want to boo this person. This is Roslyn Famous. First off, thank you for doing this with us.
Morning.
We are happy to have you. We are very happy to have you. And I need to apologize to you. So when the governor was on, I wasn't. I'm not here for the governor's entertainment, but she couldn't stop laughing when I pronounced lingovox wrong. Did you feel sorry for me at least? Like, did you see that?
No, it's been happening for a while now, Jamel. Every time I come on under the name, you're messing up my company name, man. Like, how you do me like that, man? Come on.
You know what?
It's all right, though.
I'm a forgiving person, so just note that.
I knew one day I'll be able to catch you. I'll be able to let you know how it actually sounds.
But you know what's funny? You know what's funny? As accessible as everyone is, you never ever said that's not how you pronounce it. You just said, I'm gonna catch him. I'm gonna catch him. I'm not gonna embarrass him. I appreciate you not embarrassing me and making fun of me. The governor broke my heart that day, but thank you once again for being able to have a conversation. But for those who only see you in the audience and they just say, "Oh, that's Roslyn Famous," she comments or lingovox because you do use that sometimes. Just tell the audience a bit about your background and what it is that you do.
All right. So, morning, everybody. Buenos dias. ¿Cómo están? I am a translator by profession. A little bit of my background. I was born and raised in Bermuda, and went to up until high school, and then I went off to college to study languages. And then I got my master's degree in translation in Puerto Rico. And the original plan was to be here for about 2 years and then move on to something else. But I have now been in Puerto Rico for quite a while. I won't put the number of years. And and I now run a language company based both here, and I also have clients in Bermuda. So it's kind of international. And but yeah, so I do translation. Now a lot of people wonder, what is translation? So
yes, help us understand, because help me understand that.
Yes, so translation and interpretation. So translation is basically if you get a document like in any language that you don't understand and you want to know what it says, then nowadays you guys have Google Translate and you have ChatGPT and all that stuff. But for very important documents, you're going to want a professional translator to handle that for you. So we would do that. That's what translation is. So basically, changing one document from one language into another. And then interpretation is basically the same thing, but it's all the spoken part. So when you see somebody like on Miss Universe or like in the courts, those are interpreters.
Got it. So I want to touch on that before we go any further, but you mentioned ChatGPT, Google Translate. Do you see that impacting an audience? If you have questions for Rosalind, send them through. Do you see that impacting the overall scope of what you do in the near future?
Oh, most definitely. It's is there an echo or is it just on my side? Okay. So it definitely has an impact on us. There's no denying that. because now people have translators at their fingertips, basically. Um, but that doesn't mean that we're out for the count. Translators have been here hand in hand with technology since the beginning of time, since the printing press, since the age of computers, since the age of other programmings that has worked with automating translation. And we are still here. We're one of the oldest professions. And so it's about adapting. One thing about translators, we have to adapt very quickly to technology, and we're very good at that. So um, it does have an impact, but we can't sit around and wait for it to take over.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Let's go back even further though, because how does a Bermudian decide that they want a career in what you're doing?
Wow. My story, the way a lot of people get into translation for a lot of different reasons. So my reason, honestly, was to be I wanted to be a spy because, and this is the importance of teachers. My teacher at college was my Spanish teacher. One day she started talking about her experience. She used to listen in on wiretaps for like the Drug Enforcement Agency and the FBI. And when she told me that, that just sparked something inside of me. Like I'm like, oh, I need to be in on that. Like I want to be in on that information. So that's what really got me started in the translation world. I really wanted to I wanted to be like my teacher. I wanted to find out how I could get into that. But you know, the world takes you down different routes.
Mhm.
And so now well, to go back a little bit, um I always liked languages, like since I was a kid. Um, Even before I understood what different languages were. My mom, she speaks a little bit of Spanish, so she used to speak Spanish to us as kids, and that always fascinated me, like the fact that you could switch languages up like that. Um, I then so when I went to college, I took Spanish. I used to do French in Berkeley, and then that's where I really didn't have any idea that I was going to do a profession in it until my teacher like sparked my interest with this tale of that you could be a translator. I had never heard of being a translator before, so that just fascinated me. And then after that, I got my major in Spanish, and then I did a master's in translation and continued to work as a translator for a company here for about 19 years. And then I started my own company afterwards.
Love it, love it, love it. You just put a number on it just now. I'm just letting you know. Put a number on it. You said 19 years. But
I didn't say all the years.
true, true, true. You, the thing I like about what I'm hearing from you, it seems like you really love it. But what do you enjoy most about what you do? Like if there's someone tuned in right now, because I think when I was going through that phase of what to study and so on, I'll never forget being pushed towards certain careers as a Bermudian, either hospitality or IB, and it's like that's not what I want to do. But what do you enjoy most about it? That's kept you focused.
Oh, I love the process. I love the process of just maybe is what we call in Bermuda like being pokey, because like when you're a translator, you really get a lot of inside information that we have to maintain confidential. So I can't tell you what I know, but you do get to know a lot of inside information. And so every day is really a different. I've been in this for over 20 years, and there has never been one day that has been the same. Every day is something different. Every day you learn. You're constantly learning with translation, not just a new word, but also you have to study a lot of not study, but you get involved in a lot of fields because one day you might be translating about chemistry, the other day you might be translating about a lawsuit, the other day you might be translating somebody's divorce. So every day is different.
Mhm. Love that. Audience, if you have any questions or comments for Roslyn, please send them through. Karen Simmons is asking, Roslyn, how many languages do you speak and are able to translate?
See, now this is not like, this is like the number one question I get. As soon as I tell somebody says, I say, I'm a translator, they're like, oh, well, how many? Because the expectation is that you could speak 10, 20, 50 languages, right? But honestly, all you need to speak is just two languages, your own language and something else. So just to, and I'm saying that for anybody who's watching or who might be interested and think that as somebody in Bermuda who spoke like English all their lives, like, oh, I might not be able to do it. You can do it. I want everyone to know that it is possible. And you don't have to speak 5 languages. You don't have to speak 10 languages. Now, how many do I speak? I speak on a day-to-day, I speak 2 languages, but I also study German and Portuguese. However, those are not my active languages. So I can understand it, I can read it, but the fluidity is not at the level of my Spanish and English.
All right. And you said you studied French in Berkeley. Did you carry any of that over?
French helped me to learn Spanish, and then Spanish helped me forget French.
Got it. Okay. Um, we've got another question.
I can read French, but it's really very, 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 very passive.
Okay. Janelle John's asking, do you ever want to return to live in Bermuda?
Well, yes. Now this is going to be a controversial subject. So I actually, when I did graduate, I intended to move back to Bermuda. Um, Now I'm saying this as an anecdote, not as anything bitter. So at the time, this was many years ago, people still didn't know what being a translator was, didn't know about interpretation. And the only outlet for me to practice my profession was on a volunteer basis through, so I could sign up to work in the court, but I didn't know when they would call me, if they would call me or anything. So there really wasn't a demand for what I did in Bermuda. Um, so there, that's the up and down side of it, is, not being able to do it. Back then the remote work wasn't possible, right? It wasn't a thing, right? So it wasn't an outlet, so I had to look elsewhere to do my work.
Okay. Now remote's there and there could be some possibilities.
So yeah, now remote, I can work at like wherever my laptop is. I've worked, and I've worked in Bermuda, I've worked in Puerto Rico, I've worked on a cruise ship in the middle of the Australian Ocean, so at 4 o'clock in the morning. So you can work anywhere. The difference is cost of living. So that will be the factor, because what I would have to charge to live in Bermuda would not be sustainable to run a business.
That is relatable. I get it. I understand. And that's just the reality.
But at the same time, I am glad that I do have a few clients in Bermuda. So that's my way of connecting with home, is being able to serve Bermuda, even though now that we have remote work, I can have clients in Bermuda and work with them that way.
Gotcha. I think you're the first person I've met that's Bermudian, who actually has a career like this, a translator. And I like the idea of this conversation, because my hope is that, yeah, we're about 60,000 people. We're very small as a population, right? Um, I want people to feel inspired that they can major in different things, and if there's no opportunities in Bermuda, grow beyond Bermuda. I say that a lot, like growing beyond our environment. I think that, I came up in a very close knit family. Like when I first left Bermuda, I always return. Like I never wanted to be away for long. But now you realize the world is so much bigger um, than the space that you own, the only space you knew, right? Um, but what is like the downside of having a career like yours where you're away from family and friends? Like what is that like?
Well, I mean, you just said it, right? Being away from family and friends is always a downside. But we've always, I've been away from for school since I was 16. So um, not that we have the family connection. There's always phone calls and whatnot. You do miss like special occasions or something that might pop up that the family gets together and you're like, oh man, I can't fly home because that's like too expensive just for me to pop in for a family picnic. but but yeah, it in that sense it's hard. It's hard. But luckily where I am in Puerto Rico, Puerto Ricans are an amazing set of people. They're very warm, very welcoming. And since day one that I've been here, I have never felt anything but welcome. And the community of translators and interpreters here have become basically my family here. And so in that sense, where you make up where you compensate for where you're lacking in other areas, right? And in fact, this office is not my office. This is actually a colleague's office that he's lending me because it looks better than my office. So and he I keep him very much abreast of things that are going on in Bermuda. So he is a fan of Bermuda and looking forward to visit one day. Um, and yeah, so I'm also the president of the Association of Translators and Interpreters here in Puerto Rico. So that says something that as a Bermudian that I can actually head up the association, the local association here
Hmm.
for Puerto Ricans. So that's a um, honor for me.
Yeah, indeed, indeed, and congratulations on that. Let's go to travel and Charlie. She's mentioned something interesting. Any thoughts on the new travel technology for travelers, the earphones that translate in real time?
I think they're great. I think it's great. Of course, I don't know. You always have to be careful because this technology is fairly new and language is so fluid that it accuracy is not always guaranteed. But for travel and things like that, for being able to get so that you can go, if I want to go to Thailand today, I don't know how to speak Thai, that I'm gonna be using one of those technology apps because hey, it's better than trying to struggle to catch a taxi or try and find somewhere to eat, right? So I encourage people to use that for instance like that. Where I don't encourage the use of apps like that are in critical and life threatening situations. So when you're in the court, you don't want to use an app. You do not want to use an app to interpret as an interpreter. You don't want to use an app to translate documents that have to do with your safety, have to do with your health, have to do with your financial situations, contracts. There's documents that maybe you just want to know what the document says. Knock yourself out. Go ahead and use the app because the accuracy isn't there, but at least you can communicate, right? The point of interpreting and translation is so that we can get cultures to communicate with each other. But in very critical situations, you need to hire a professional interpreter or translator.
Mm. This is interesting. Again, a career that probably wasn't spoken about to young Bermudians, something that wasn't, um, you know, to be considered by young Bermudians. And I hope that those tuned in who maybe have young people who like languages or don't know what they want to do, even if this is not the space they want to be in, but there's a space that they may think they want to be in, go for it. You never know. I mean, we told young Bermudians that they shouldn't major in things like dance or drama and name it, some languages maybe, because the opportunities don't exist in Bermuda. My
Right.
advice to any young person, and I'm not one to give advice, is there's a big world beyond Bermuda. In the United States, if it's one thing I've learned from living in the US, they just had Thanksgiving, which is their biggest family holiday, right? Um, and people travel, like it's their biggest travel time. They travel all over to visit family. And you always wonder, right? Well, where's the home base? Because everyone's traveling. What happens is people literally leave home, leave their families behind to go and start a life of their own. And the same opportunities that exist maybe in New York don't exist in Iowa, where they're from, right? And it's no different from Bermuda. It's no different from Bermuda. So I'm actually happy that you, as a Bermudian, found a space that didn't exist in Bermuda, beyond Bermuda, because it's a testament and to any young person who is, thinking to study something or currently studying something and thinking that, well, there's no opportunities in Bermuda. And even if there are, there could be better elsewhere. Don't be afraid to grow beyond the only environment you know.
And there's a couple of things I wanted to point with that. With that, you're not really growing beyond your environment. What you're doing is your environment evolves. So when I began to study, when I said I first wanted to be a translator, I was shut down a lot by uh, people in power at that time. So the because it was what they said is like there's no need for that. And at first I thought I was like offended by it, but they weren't lying. There wasn't a need, but Bermuda evolved since then, right? And Bermuda's going to continue to evolve. So it may not happen right now. It might not be something that the vision might not be there right now for whatever students want to study, but they might be there in 10 years.
Mhm.
So don't be afraid to study something else because Bermuda's going to evolve and you might be ready for that. Um, Again, like now I have clients in Bermuda. Back then I wouldn't have had those clients. The other point I wanted to make was that uh, yes, Bermuda is small, but one thing we need to start thinking of is maybe we're not just 21 square miles, and maybe we are the size of the world. Wherever a Bermudian is, that's where Bermuda is. And if we tap into the power of the people connect all the Bermudians around the world, how powerful can Bermuda be if we use the power of our diaspora, right? So that's one thing I always like to put an emphasis on is that the people who live abroad may not be able to be there physically, but we can contribute to the island in different ways using the power that we have elsewhere. So
Mhm.
that's another thing I wanted to put in.
Thank you so much, Roslyn. This has been a good convo. It's definitely. I really hope that the audience has found it helpful, even not just for them, but others who may be, faced with something similar. So thank you for this. Thank you for sharing your journey with us and the like. But I must ask you before you head out, how long you've been watching the Daily Hour?
Since day one, my friend, day one.
Yeah, between yourself, Mark Arthur C. Phillips, Charles Jeffers, a few others, Traveling Trotty. I'm like, her name's been in. And I think, though, I'm gonna say this, of all the folks who've been watching from day one, I think you're like the only one I've never met in person.
It happens
Yeah.
a lot.
Are you like just you see me every day, so you're like, I don't need to see him in person? That's all she is.
No. Don't bring me into these fights. I always stay outside of these fights. Don't even start.
Trying to bring you
Now
into
what now I have to make a shameless plug for my company. I have to
please.
make it. I'm gonna use this opportunity to do that, because well, you're not selling, you're dying. Just to let people know. So I am the owner of Linguists Translation Studio. We're a company that our team, we have 60 translators and interpreters around the world, mostly in Puerto Rico. So I would say about 95% are based in Puerto Rico. We don't just do translation and interpreting. We also do subtitles. So when you're watching Netflix and maybe you're watching something in Spanish and you want to know what it says in English, that's what we do. We also do live captioning. So especially for the community of the hard of hearing or deaf community, then we provide that service so that they can see what is being said in both, and we do that in both English and Spanish. And we also work with sign language, so American Sign Language and also Puerto Rico Sign Language. And we also we cover about 20 languages currently.
Okay, do not judge me, audience. But am I the only one who didn't realize there was different kind of sign languages? I did not realize that till you just
Yes.
said American and Puerto Rico.
So sign language is not a universal language. People like to think, oh, it's a universal language. It is not.
I did not know that. Audience, I'm being vulnerable. Am I the only one who didn't know that? I didn't know that. I would have thought that. I mean, I don't know any signs, but I would have thought that something meant the same thing regardless. But it makes sense. It makes perfect sense because we use describe things.
And I also want to encourage Bermudians or anybody who's watching right now. This industry is worth over $65 billion in the US alone. So there is space, there is money, there are opportunities. So don't think of it as something that is a dying profession that is just going to die off. We're here and there's a lot of opportunities, and you don't necessarily have to be a linguist. You can work in many other areas of the profession.
Okay. Well, we've got Karen Simmons says she didn't know either about sign language. Suzanne Ingham says, I didn't know. I thought sign language was sign language. And Helene Swan.
Even Bermuda has its own different unique signs.
Oh, well, we have one genius, David Michael Wilson. He said, hence why it's as American. But David, no one says American Sign Language. They say sign language. So she just explained American versus Puerto Rican. Roslyn, how can people get in touch with you?
So you can reach me on Facebook, or you can reach me. You can just check LinguiWox Translation Studio on Facebook and Instagram. We have a website, linguivoxtranslations.com, but it's currently being revamped, so it's not up right now. And you can reach me on LinkedIn at Roslyn Famous.
Yeah, that's how I reached out. Yeah, LinkedIn.
Yes, and thank you, Jamel. I was so honored to see the connection there.
Oh no, you all fill out surveys, and we take what you say seriously. So we want to have more TH community on, right? So thank you so much, Roslyn. Have a wonderful holiday, and folks, hit her up. See how we can support what it is Roslyn is doing. Talk to you.
And thank you for all my prizes that I have yet to collect. But
you have won a lot. More. Talk soon.
All right.
All right, folks. Roslyn Famous. If you appreciated that conversation, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share that conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take our final break. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 41 seconds to wrap it up and see who's going to get today's question correct. Stick with it.